event. So sit back and enjoy the thrills and spills of board sailing.
Once again, Table Mountain was the perfect backdrop to Big Bay Bloberg and the 1986 Golf GTI Grand Prix. Board sailing is certainly the fastest growing sport in the world today. It first started in the USA in 1967 and in the mid-70s in Europe. Today, nearly 200,000 people are involved in board sailing in South Africa. Due to its popularity, in 1984, board sailing first entered the ranks of an Olympic sport. The board sailing industry has grown along with the sport, and board sailing manufacturers are testing daily the equipment of tomorrow. The Golf GTI is a slalom competition and once again attracted the world's best.
I don't know, if it blows pretty good, I think I got a good chance. I have some good equipment and I got a new board and I feel pretty confident.
I hope my chances are not too bad if we get the same conditions like last year, with big waves and strong winds to 45 knots. And if we get the same condition, it's better for me because I'm a heavyweight sailor and I need more wind.
The top internationals, I know, are going to do really well in the competition, but there are a number of internationals which I think a lot of the South Africans can beat quite easily.
For the sailors, a slalom competition requires a high level of fitness, physical skills, sailing ability and tactics. Taking this into account, how did the two top seeds see their chances?
There's only 9 girls competing in this, but Anique Graveline is here. She does the World Cup along with me, and she's really good. And I'm sure the South African women have been practicing over last year, so I think we'll have some good competition.
I've got a lot of dinghy racing, Hobie Cat experience, and I feel real confident in racing. I've got a lot of experience in other slalom events in Hawaii and as well as around the world.
The 80 competitors from 8 different countries, including Canada, Germany and Hawaii, gathered on a windless, sun-baked morning with no immediate forecast for wind. But nevertheless, the 6-day competition got underway with the draw for the first round heats. Of the competitors, the top 16 were seeded, and they had the opportunity of drawing their opponents to make up the 8-man heats. The advantage of being seeded, of course, meant that the top seeds did not meet each other in the early heats. Besides fitness, skill, ability and tactics, the choice of equipment can prove critical, and did. A last-minute change of sail to get maximum benefit from the light and variable southeaster. And it was in these light variable conditions that the contest got underway for the first 8 sailors. More about the format of this event from contest director Terry Weiner.
The Golf GTI is a slalom event, 64 men, 12 top internationals, the rest locals from all around South Africa, 10 ladies. It's an out-and-out race, a slalom event through the waves, starting on the beach, going out to a mark or about 300 meters out to sea, and back into an inside mark, and they do a figure of 8 with 3 turns around the outside mark, twice around the inside, and the last time coming in to finish in shallow water right in front of the spectators. So the spectators are involved all the way along. They know from the start who's in the leads, where the people are, and it's not a subjective sport. It's right happening in front of you, and you can see straight away who's winning, who's coming second.
The contest was run on an elimination basis, with the first 4 sailors in each heat advancing until only 8 remained to contest the final. That would conclude one round. On the basis of their position in the final, the sailors were reseeded and another round was sailed, and this cycle continued throughout the 6 days of the competition, or as long as the wind blew. But it didn't always blow, and to while away the hours, volleyball consumed the energies of some. While those who took their sport more seriously made use of the lull in the wind, and consequently activity, to fine-tune their equipment. The Atlantic seaboard is seldom without wind for long though, and soon sailors were on board and sailing again. Sailing to win is the name of the game. Some of the top internationals gave us an insight as to what slalom is all about.
Yeah, starts are real important, because if you can get out in the front and keep your boat speed, no one's going to pass you, you know. So, but if you're behind, you have to deal with wakes and where you're going to try and have to pass someone. It makes it kind of complicated.
I think of slalom sailing as kind of isometrics, you know, really locking up, tensing up, whereas wave sailing is more of a freestyle event where you're just dancing around, moving around as much as possible.
What I've seen from where I've been, a lot of slalom heats are luck, you know. Not luck, but there's so many different variables, you know. The guy that's winning could go out and hit the set right at the wrong time and end up last. It's just a lot of elements involved.
The many points, you really have to get a good start. You have to concentrate on your start. You have to run quick in the water. You have to concentrate on your speed. You have to do really good jibes, and it's also a tactic race. It's not easy to pass somebody if the other guy got the same speed. You have to catch a better wave. If the wind shifts, you have to change the course, but you can feel it just on the water. It's not, you can't check it out from the land, because the wind on land is different than on the water.
You have to watch the surf and use it for your advantage, and sometimes you might have to slow down so not to get such a high jump. You don't want to jump because that slows you down a lot. If you have air time, you don't want any time in the air. You want to stay down on the water as much as possible. So depending on the surf, you just kind of have to play it by ear and see what you have to do.
As if to make up for the lull at times, the Cape Doctor came back with a vengeance and a 35-knot wind. The ladies took to the water. Jenny Norman moved out to the right, while World Cup sailor Annick Graveline hit the white water first. On shore, Ralph Bachschuster limbered up. And Jenny Norman surprised by crossing the finishing line first ahead of some stiff competition. In this heat, Cape Town's wonderboy Cameron Bruce jibes ahead of the fleet. Gary van Rooyen, Eastern Province's Murray Spears, and Danny Schreiber. Eventually, Cameron Bruce lollipopped to an easy victory. A delaminated board, though, put paid to Hawaiian Rush Randall's challenge. Alan Cadiz with a powerful jibe. Mark Angulo and Toby Norman hot on his heels. Angulo goes down but quickly recovers, and the race is on to see who gets onto the plane first. Toby Norman flies ahead. Alan Cadiz justified his #1 seeding in this heat. Marianne de Jager takes some unwanted air, and Dana Dawes streaks past, showing why she is the world slalom champion. And once more, Dana was the first to cross the finish line. With sails pumping frantically, the start of yet another exciting heat as sailors strain to make top speed. German Axel Ohm, compatriot Ralph Bachschuster, and Italian Pietro Pacito. And Cameron Bruce on the tail of the 3 World Cup stars. Axel grabbed this one. Into the ladies' final, round 1, went Andrea Praining, Austria, Dana Dawes, Hawaii, Anne Gadd, Jenny Norman, Marianne de Jager and Marlene Hoekstra, South Africa. Dana Dawes streaks ahead round the outside buoy. Jenny Norman in pursuit drops it. But recovers quickly to hold on to her position. In 3rd place, Cape Town's Marianne de Jager rounds the inside buoy and comes unstuck. Marlene Hoekstra makes use of the opportunity to slip past. The consistent Dana Dawes took the first round convincingly. Going into the men's final in a 35-knot wind, 3 Americans, 2 Germans, 2 South Africans and 1 Italian. At the outside mark, it was Axel Ohm from Alan Cadiz, Ralph Bachschuster and Peter Slate, with Cameron Bruce by no means out of the running. Axel Ohm speeds ahead, but some great sailing from Cameron Bruce sees him challenge the leader, who goes down as his boom breaks and Cameron shoots clear ahead. And he too goes down, leaving the way clear for Ralph Bachschuster. Cameron picks up the pieces and rounds the inside mark in 2nd position, strongly challenged by American Craig Yester. With some great sailing, Ralph Bachschuster powers his way to winning the 1st round. Cameron Bruce, despite his mishap, retained 2nd place, but whatever happened to number 1 seed Alan Cadiz?
I was right there with Bachschuster, and it's much windier than in the previous heat. I was overpowered.
And how did Cameron blow it?
I took a sail out that was far too big. I was really overpowered, and then a gust came which was far too strong for me, and I was coming in really fast. I came over the back of a wave and spun out and lost it completely. So, but there's so many good guys. I mean, it's so difficult to say at this stage who's going to be the eventual winner, but I'm going for it.
The beauty of athletic maneuvers gave way for a short time to beauty and competition of another sort. And board sailors had an opportunity to fill the judges' seat. Though it's not all fun and games when it comes to competition and intercontinental travel, as Annick Graveline explains.
Well, it's mostly the traveling and all the hassles with carrying all your equipment around in the airports and just being away from home. So, you know, for such long periods at a time, that's really what gets tiring.
Tiredness, though, was pushed into the back of competitors' minds as the heats continued. To assist us with comments is organizer Rob Pickstock. As has been mentioned, Rob, many of the sailors are World Cup competitors. What is the World Cup all about?
The World Cup comprises of a series of events which take place over a period of 9 months in 6 different countries around the world. Each event is in fact a 3-in-1 contest in that 3 disciplines are sailed over a period of 10 days. The 3 disciplines are, of course, course racing, which normally takes place fairly far off the beach and is the closest the sport gets to traditional yachting. The second discipline is wave performance, such as the first contest held during our circuit, and the third discipline is in fact that we are watching right here, slalom.
Why do they sail 3 disciplines in one contest?
Well, the idea behind the World Cup is to establish not only who the best sailors are in the world in each discipline, but moreover to determine who the best sailor in the world is.
Are South African sailors ready to compete in that sphere yet?
Most definitely. We have our specialist sailors in their favorite disciplines, and they are most certainly able to hold their own internationally. In addition, we have a number of first-class all-round sailors who have already won world titles.
What are the particular strains with which one has to contend out there?
Board sailing is peculiar in that the competitor always prefers the more testing conditions, and obviously these are the most demanding both physically and mentally. The strains that come to mind are obviously the strength of the wind and the size of the swell. Some of the lighter sailors, such as Alan Cadiz, carry extra weights in the stronger winds to enable them to hold larger sails. Also of note is the choice of equipment, which can be critical. For example, in the stronger winds, sailors would use boards known as sinkers, which have a very low volume and would sink without sufficient wind. In the lighter winds, larger boards known as floaters are used, which have a greater volume without compromising too much on speed.
Of course, speed in all conditions is the essence of slalom. And on the subject of equipment, let's find out what the difference is between wave performance and slalom boards. Designer Toby Norman.
It's basically to do with the bottom curve of the board, i.e. the part that's in the water. A wave board tends to have more curve in the bottom so that you get better turning up and down the wave face. The more curve you have, the less speed you have. So in a slalom board, we're actually looking just for a very flat bottom. But it does have to have some curve so that you can get out through the surf. The sails tend to have longer booms, again to keep more airflow attached to the sail for a longer period of time, especially through gusts. They have special camber juices in them to hold the correct sail shape. Wave sails are a lot more softer sails. They tend to luff much easier. They depower a lot quicker so that you can do fancy maneuvers on the wave. Whereas in slalom, you're looking for just all-out speed. And the thing has got to remain as rigid as possible.
The 6th and final day, and to add drama to the occasion, the wind changed through 180 degrees from southeast to northwest. As a result, the course had to be reset, presenting a new challenge as the top 6 ladies entered the final heat. Challenging the supremacy of Hawaiian Dana Dawes was Canadian Nick Graveline and the 4 South African ladies, Marlene Hoekstra, Anne Gadd, Marianne de Jager and Jenny Norman. And Nick powers immediately into the lead ahead of Dana.
Dana Dawes is in the comfortable position here where she only has to finish 3rd or better to win the title, whilst the pressure is really on Nick, who needs a clear first place and the hope that Dana finishes 4th or worse.
Although the change in wind direction no doubt presents some problems, it's by no means that strong, Rob.
We do have minimum wind requirements, which are between 12 and 14 knots. And on the other end of the scale, we can continue sailing up to 55 or 60 knots.
And it's happening on the outside mark.
Yes, and Nick is trying everything she knows to get away from Dana, but Dana is comfortably tucked into 2nd place and really looking good for the title at the moment.
It does appear to be somewhat of a 2-horse race.
Indeed, this is where the experience of the World Cup sailors count, and they are managing to maintain their board speed far better than the South Africans, who are having a rough time at the bumpy, light winds on the inside mark. There goes Anne Gadd, Jenny Norman, and battling it out for 5th and 6th place are Marlene Hoekstra and Marianne de Jager.
But surely the South African girls should be more au fait with local conditions.
Well, these are not the normal prevailing winds at this time of the year, and that together with that added aggression and professionalism that the 2 overseas girls have is certainly making the difference here today. We mustn't forget that the race doesn't finish after 1st and 2nd place, and there's still a tremendous tussle on for supremacy amongst the South African women.
And it's the end of the 1986 Golf GTI contest for women, with Nick Graveline rounding the finish buoy ahead of Dana Dawes.
The end of yet another battle between these 2 close friends, but Nick will have the chance to avenge this defeat at the first leg of the World Cup.
With her 2nd place, though, Dana secures the title for the 2nd year running.
And Nick must be very disappointed, knowing that her lapse of concentration earlier in the event has cost her this title.
Ultimately, the men's final. Meditation. Concentration. Tension. Tactics.
There's no tactic, just go for it, you know, today. It's pretty light, so it's bad if you know, like we have a line, and if you're totally on the right, that means you're upwind, it's better for you. I drove pretty bad on 5th, so it's not so good. We see.
I don't know, you know, it's a new heat. Start all over, go for it again. It's kind of light, but just got to give them.
The challengers for Hawaiians, Alan Cadiz, Craig Yester, Rush Randall, Mark Angulo. 3 South Africans, Tim Close, Grant Hardman and Brett Clark, and German Ralf Bachschuster.
And Bachschuster means business. He knows he has to win this heat to win the title, but the Hawaiians won't let him do it that easily. From left to right, Angulo, Bachschuster, Cadiz, and in 4th place, South Africa's Grant Hardman. It's very important to get to the outside mark first and maintain clean air, so let's see who gets there first. Mark Angulo from Hawaii, Ralf Bachschuster right behind him. Tim Close from South Africa, and Alan Cadiz from Hawaii. Now the tactics come into it as they choose their line towards the inside mark. Bachschuster has gone further upwind, and Angulo on the inside has managed to hold his lead over the German. Mark is mainly a wave sailor, so this is really a great performance from him.
And they really appear to be shifting out there at the moment. Rob, what speeds do you think they're doing?
They're probably traveling in the region of 25 to 30 knots, which is 55 to 60 kilometers an hour.
Angulo going a little wide there, Rob.
Yes, but he has the advantage of getting to the mark first, and that plays a large part. Bachschuster's there right behind him now, and Cadiz is still there in 3rd place. Now the run for the inside mark. And this is Bachschuster's last chance to take the lead from Angulo. This is where tactics come into it. And the best decision here would be to point higher upwind, as Bachschuster is doing. And the advantage is that he gets cleaner air and then has a broader reach to the finish mark.
And the crowd watch intently these final seconds.
And in these final moments, Bachschuster's decision certainly has paid off as he cruises in to a well-deserved 1st place.
And Ralf Bachschuster indeed clinches the 1986 men's title, followed by Alan Cadiz and Mark Angulo.
A great display from Ralf Bachschuster, whose choice of equipment and excellent sailing tactics proved most successful this year. A great lesson has been learned from the consistency of Alan Cadiz and the sheer determination of Mark Angulo.
And so the formalities crowned 6 days of excitement, and the appreciative crowd were on hand to see 3rd prize handed to South African Marlene Hoekstra. 2nd to Annick Graveline of Canada. And 1st to last year's winner, Dana Dawes.
I just want all of you to know that you should be really proud of the conditions that you have here, along with the organization, because I've traveled around the world competing a lot for the last 3 years, and you really got something to be proud about here. And a lot of your competitors don't get the opportunity to go overseas and compete. But I think now with us coming over and spreading the word around, hopefully it'll open a door for some of your competitors here that deserve the opportunity.
And the men's results saw South African Cameron Bruce in 4th place. 3rd went to the exuberant Mark Angulo. Alan Cadiz, wearing his trademark hat, was 2nd. And 1st prize went to the man who was placed 3rd in the previous year's competition, Ralf Bachschuster.